Once you have a profitable trading edge, your job as a trader is to be able to stick to that edge and consistently execute it as a way to reap consistent profitability. But this becomes very difficult to do if you don't learn to manage your psychology and, in particular, this one human bias. Now, something I want to develop, an idea I want to develop here, is that every trader, every human being has a survival instinct. Part of our development and part of our evolution, it was crucial that we survived against threats day to day. And part of your survival as a human being, part of our survival as human beings, was dependent on a very particular bias. So we all have this inbuilt bias that is affecting our ability to trade. Let me explain. So whenever we perceive a threat coming towards us, something that we believe is dangerous or challenging, our brain has a survival mechanism that labels this particular threat as bad, as negative, as a challenging situation to your safety or to your values at that point in time. And the brain has what is called confirmation bias and disconfirmation bias. And what this does is confirmation bias in the mind only lets in and continues to exaggerate and accentuate how bad this threat is. You see a challenge in front of you, you see a negative coming towards you, and then your brain is built and wired to exaggerate how bad that particular thing is. And with confirmation bias, it only continues to let in the negatives, the challenge, the threat. And with disconfirmation bias, it actually blocks out any ideas of how this particular threat or how this challenge may be of benefit or service to you in that particular moment. How this particular threat can help you grow, or how this particular threat can help you develop your defenses, whatever it may be. Your brain is designed to block out any of those benefits because it just wants to accentuate the drawbacks to kickstart a survival response. And that's exactly what happens in the brain. The brain exaggerates this threat so greatly that your brain actually kickstarts its fight or flight autonomic response, where adrenaline and cortisol are now flowing through the body as a way to prime you. What actually happens is the blood goes from the internal organs to the extremity of the body into your muscles, so that you're now in a primed fight or flight response. So these two biases, confirmation bias and disconfirmation bias, are necessary to kickstart your fight or flight response when you perceive a threat. And so too in reverse, if you perceive a reward, a prey, something that you can consume, something that you can eat, again, the brain does the exact same thing in reverse. It has confirmation bias to only let in how this event would be positive and supportive, and disconfirmation bias to let out, not let in any of the drawbacks of that, so that your brain can be primed for a fight or flight response to go and capture that prey, so you didn't starve. So confirmation bias was necessary to fend off threats and also capture prey for your survival, so you can continue to survive and not die as an individual in the wild thousands of years ago. Now, obviously we've developed a little bit and we're in safer environments and society, and 99% of people have safety inbuilt within society. And if you're watching this, if you're working on your trading, chances are you're in that boat. But the truth is, every human being has this same survival instinct inbuilt in the brain, because human nature never gets rid of old components. It only builds new layers on top. So as a trader, we have to learn to manage confirmation bias and disconfirmation bias as a way to be able to see the markets clearly, as a way to not react emotionally, and as a way to stick to our trading plan. Let me explain this a little bit deeper. If you're a trader at your desk and you're sitting in a safe environment, in your air-conditioned apartment, you're using proper risk management, so there are no life-threatening situations in that moment. Your brain may still perceive a loss, or the potential for a loss, or the potential for reward as a life-threatening situation. It may kickstart the same response, the same survival response, and in fact, that's exactly what it does. So as a trader, if you perceive a loss in the market or an unmet expectation or something challenging to your values and to your trading goals in that particular point in time, guess what's going to happen? Your brain is going to go off and dramatize with confirmation bias how bad and how challenging and how negative this loss is. And it's going to spiral you, and it's going to exaggerate, and it's going to put you in that fight or flight response. That's why sometimes after losses, what you find is that you ruminate on it. You can't stop thinking about it. You exaggerate it. You make it worse than what it is. You can't sleep that night. Plus, after that loss, you may feel literally red hot because the blood's going from the extremity, from the organs, the internal organs, to the extremities, to your muscles, part of that fight or flight response. This is all an indication that confirmation bias has overtaken you in that particular moment, and it's impacting your trading. So as a trader, if you're perceiving a loss, a necessary and an inevitable loss, because as a trader, you're going to experience both wins and losses part of your sample space. Losses are part of that sample space. Losses are part of your success as a trader, your long-term success as a trader. We have to learn to manage confirmation bias, the hidden, quiet bias that's controlling your trading. Now, this actually becomes even more crucial when you perceive a potential for reward, a potential for a winning trade. Because what happens in the mind of a trader is when we create this idea that this trade is going to help me make X amount of dollars, or X amount of percentage, or this trade is going to help me get funded, or this trade is going to help me pay rent, or this trade is going to help me increase my status in my trading community. I'm going to tell my friends and they're going to think of me as a genius, right? Whenever we create these ideas in our mind of potential rewards from taking a trade, guess what happens? We create this idea that Eurodollar is going to go to the upside. I want to buy. I'm going to get all these rewards, all these benefits just listed. Guess what the brain does? The brain has confirmation bias to only let in information that supports that belief in that idea that Eurodollar is going to go to the upside and you're going to get all these rewards. And has disconfirmation bias to block out any ideas that run counter to that, which may be necessary risks and cues from the market, which may actually change your decision to get involved in that position, but you're not willing to look at them because all your brain is letting in, because part of that survival instinct is information that supports your belief, your ideas, your expectations. So you're actually at a disadvantage here as a trader. So it's crucial as a trader to manage confirmation bias after you take a loss so you don't spiral. You don't go into this revenge trading or ruminating on necessary inevitable losses as a trader. And it's necessary to manage confirmation bias when you're so attached to a win, because otherwise you're going to trade based on emotion, based on what you think, based on little information as opposed to having the complete picture. And in both these states, trading from a state of fear, which by the way, confirmation bias promotes fear as a survival instinct, and greed, and again, confirmation bias promotes greed as a survival instinct, so you get away from threat, or you can capture prey, so your brain is trying to tell you, which is it's not necessary anymore in the environment, the safe environment you're in. But if you don't learn to manage the fear and the greed, the confirmation bias that promotes that, guess what? You're not going to be able to do. You're not going to be able to stick to your trading plan, and you're not going to be able to achieve consistent profitability. Really, let me draw this a little bit differently. Really, as a trader, you have to understand this one simple idea. You've got the polarities down below, which are all outcome-based thinking. We only get caught in greed and the pleasure of winning and this idea that winning is good and this idea of being addicted to a win when we're thinking about the outcome of a trade. And we only get caught in this idea of fear and losing is bad and losing is negative and fear-based thinking when we're in outcome-based thinking. We only get caught in this polarity because we're seeking after a win all the time and we're trying to avoid a loss. And guess what? Part of the sample space as a trader, this is why I create a lot of videos on probabilistic thinking and changing the way you think as a trader, because you're never going to avoid losing. Losing is part of the sample space of being a profitable trader. You've got a sample space of wins, losses, wins, losses, wins, losses. that if you let play out over a large sample space because of your edge, it's going to end up profitable. You'll have a profitable result over that large sample space. But if you get addicted to winning, the moment you win, you're going to promote greed out of confirmation bias. You can deviate from your trading plan. Or if you take a loss and you let confirmation bias promote the fear of that loss, you're going to deviate from your trading plan. You're going to go away from executing the sample space. You're going to go on all these little tangents, and you're never going to be consistently profitable. Whereas if you learn to manage confirmation bias, you stick to your trading plan, you let this larger sample space play out, you end up profitable at the end of it. So as a trader, we only have confirmation bias when we're attached to a positive win on the individual trade, and then when we're so pained by the loss because we're addicted to the win. So the way you transform from this way of thinking and go above confirmation bias and the pain of losing and the pleasure of winning, and transcend outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking, the way you do that is you have to transcend the polarities. And the way you do that is stop becoming so addicted to a certain outcome on an individual trade. Detach from the outcome of the individual trade. Focus on sticking to your trading plan consistently. And when you do that, you transition from outcome-based thinking, which is down below in the polarities, to process-based thinking, which is above here. And guess what? You know you've made the right decision the moment you place the trade. You don't need to see the outcome of the trade to know you've made the correct decision. This is false winning down here. This is losing. This is true winning up here. The true winning as a trader is not when you take a win on the individual trade. The true winning as a trader is when you stick to your trading plan and consistently do that over a large sample space. That's when you'll end up profitable. And guess what? When you're in process-based thinking, you're in long-term thinking. When you're in outcome-based thinking, you're in short-term thinking because you're only thinking about the outcome of that individual trade. Down below is the individual, up above is the collective. The way you go from outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking is detaching from the outcome of the individual trade. This is exactly what my Bulletproof Your Mindset tool helps you do. So if you don't already have that tool, make sure you go into the description and download it. It's a completely free course that will help you go from outcome-based thinking to process-based thinking. Will help you eliminate confirmation bias from your trading, and as a result, will ensure that you're not emotional after losing, you're not emotional after winning, but you're consistently sticking to your trading plan on each individual trade, and as a result, you reap consistent profitability over the long run. Now, I know this message may seem boring. I know it may not seem like what's promoted and what's fun and what's going to make you $1 million overnight. But I guarantee what I've seen with the best traders out there is that those who just take little wins every day, every week, and they're not so addicted to making a huge amount of money overnight, what they do is they slowly scale up with proper risk management, with the proper mindset, with the proper processes, and they sustain their success over a longer period of time. And these are ultimately the traders who then have $500,000 of funding under their belt, or $1 million of funding under their belt, or $2 million worth of funding, or $4 million worth of funding under their belt. And they're doing the same things. They're sticking to their trading plan. They're managing their mindset using the Bulletproof Your Mindset tool before every trade. They may make 2 or 3% a month on average, but because they've scaled to significant amounts of capital, they're now making an enormous amount of money from their trading. And that's really what I promote. I promote trying to, make a huge amount of money overnight. I promote being process-based, having the proper mindset tools and the proper strategy, mechanical trading plan in place, and slowly but surely scaling up, and over a longer period of time, reaping the rewards as a trader. If you found this useful, make sure you comment your main takeaway in the comments below, and please share this video with your trading friends that you know will get value from it, and that just helps me get these videos out to more and more traders. But thank you for watching to the end. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.